I think a forensic psychologist's role in a custody evaluation is to evaluate both parents to see who's more fit to raise a child.
I believe forensic psychologists play a role in custody evaluations by evaluating which parent would be the best fit for the child to be in custody with, whether it be one or the other or neither.
When it comes to custody cases, I think the role of a forensic psychologist could be very beneficial, since they would generally work with criminals. I think they would, eventually learn how people react in those type of situations, as that would be their field of study. And I think they would also be able to better observe the behavior of the children and just determine, who's telling the truth, who's not, and see how the child responds to that, and see how each parent or guardian responds to that. So I feel like their role would be to just kind of watch. Like, maybe they're asking the questions, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just watching and evaluating how the people respond and react during the entire case or during the interrogation. So ultimately, I guess their role would be to just know and study the behavior of the people when it comes to crimes, which is something that not everyone can do, because if you're dealing with criminals, they're not necessarily going to be the most kind people. They can be rude, and they'll obviously be behaving a lot differently than just someone who has not committed a crime.
So the role in which a forensic psychologist would play in custody evaluations would be, for example, when, say, a child with one parent and the one parent dies and they have family feud, and the forensic, they have to go and see what happened to that person, so they have to go check in and see what happened. Like, say they were murdered, so they have to see how they were murdered and all that. But then there has to be mental stability when they move that child to another family, which would be like an aunt or uncle, or so on and so forth.
For forensic psychologists, I think they play a big role because they're trying to figure out what's going on in the child's situation at home.
What role do forensic psychologists play in the custody evaluation? Evaluations are to assess the psychological state of the parent and the child. The forensic psychologist keeps the best interests of the child in mind while doing the evaluation. The evaluation should focus on parenting attributes and the child's psychological needs. They strive to gain and maintain specialized competence, and they strive to function as an impartial evaluator. They strive to engage in culturally informed, non-discriminatory evaluation practices. They strive to avoid conflicts of interest and multiple relationships when conducting evaluations. They hope to establish the scope of the evaluation in a timely fashion and should remain consistent with the nature of the referral question. They obtain the appropriate informal consent, employ a number of methods of data gathering, and interpret assessment data in a manner consistent with the context of the evaluation. They have a number of different ways to gather data in order to adequately assess issues surrounding custody disputes. They do psychological testing, clinical interviews, behavior observation. They have documentations and interviews with collateral sources. Before they can conduct a comprehensive custody evaluation, they must first fully understand the various types of divorce and the effects of the divorce on children of different ages. They demonstrate excellent legal knowledge of types of custody and visitation arrangements. There are two types of custody. There is legal custody, which is who makes the important decisions for the children. There can be joint, which is both parents share rights and responsibility. to make the important decisions about health, education, and welfare of children and their soul, which one parent has the right to of responsibility to make the important decisions. There is also physical custody, which determines who the child is living with. Joint, the child lives with both parents and spends time with one parent more than the other. For example, on holidays, or they are there 3 days out of the week, or 2 for the other parent. So they only live with one parent. There are 3 different types of visitation. There is schedule, which prevents conflict and confusion, which is usually holidays or special occasions. There is reasonable, which is open-minded and usually used for the parent who have very good relationships. And it allows the parents to work it out and be flexible. And then there is supervised, where the child's safety and well-being require visits with other parents being supervised by you, another adult, or a professional agency. And there's also the choice of no visitation at all. Psychologists also possess advanced skills in the assessment of child and adolescent personalities, mental illness, parenting skills, and family dynamics required to support a healthy environment for growth and development of children. They are familiar with legal aspects of custody procedures and understand various legal definitions of custody according to the state law. Psychologists must maintain an appropriate degree of respect for and understanding of the parent's practical and personal concerns. But those all come second. They must be mindful of the consideration of the child's needs first. They can use language that the examinees are sure to understand. If the examinee is legally incapable of understanding, then the psychologists provide appropriate explanations.